everyone, it's Celeste and welcome back to my channel. You might have seen my ears, and that is today's project video. Okay, well that's today's project video. Today we are working on Eevee from Pokemon, and oh my god, is it adorable. I want to show you what it looks like here. It was a very quick process for me to make. In total, it was about 2 days. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment on which evolution is your favorite Eevee evolution. Come on, get with the times, people. Did you hear that November 21st is actually National Eevee Day in Japan? That's a thing now. Like, wow. And they also have Eevee Tamagotchis coming out. Like, I didn't realize how big Tamagotchis got, but oh my god! Anyways, here is the DIY on how to make your own very cute Eevee costume and accessory pieces. Enjoy! For starters, we're using this light brown stretched taffeta that I got in LA Fashion District. This fur I got in Copenhagen. These trim that I got at Daiso Japan. And this lace. And a few other laces. The first lace is actually from Los Angeles, and the other two are from Susteinagrein here in Copenhagen. So these are my materials. Let's get crafting. Bowser, go away.
That's not for you. That's for mommy. Time for you to go. Time for you to go.
The pattern I'm using is New Look 6299, and I'm going to be using pattern D. Originally, I thought I was going to be using pattern A, but I decided to go for a more covered look. This is what the pattern looks like, all cut out and placed. So with a little bit of magic, let's go ahead and fast forward, because you should know how to pin and cut out a pattern. Now this is what it looks like completely assembled. Now we just gotta sew it together. Yay! Sewing forever. And here we go, guys. Now once I fully assembled the dress, I made sure to assemble the arm sleeves, like the top part, and just carefully go across there. Now that the dress is assembled, I'm going to serge all the edges, including the bottom hem and the neckline. And with the magic of fast forwarding, let's fast forward. Once I was finished serging everything, I did the bottom hem and I did a single fold hemline. Next, I grabbed the sleeves. I didn't add these on yet, and I went ahead and did the bottom hem on the sleeves first. That means I serged it and then I did a single fold hem. Make sure to do this for both sleeves. So I went ahead and added this brown ribbon to the bottom of the dress. This is a limited amount of ribbon that I had, so I wanted to make sure that it fit on the dress first, and then if I had extra, I would go back and add it to the sleeves. So sew it down first onto your dress, or if you want to not have this, you could skip this entire lace part entirely. 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 How many more times can I say entirely? Once I finish adding the brown lace on, I'm going to be using this cute little white ribbon, and it's actually bows in lace form, and I'm going to be sewing it at the bottom of my brown trim. And so I'm going to be sewing it on top of it carefully, and then I'm going to repeat this pattern on the sleeves. With this kind of project, you want to make sure that you have matching thread and as much as possible. So this is what a sleeve looks like when it is finished, and now we are going to fold it over and close the sleeve. This way we can start adding it to the dress. Make sure you do this for both sides. Let's not forget to serge the edges as well. When I finish sewing the inside, I'm going to flip it inside out again, making sure that the right sides are facing forward, and this is how your sleeve should look. And then attach them to a dress. Next, I'm going to be installing a zipper using a zipper foot. I'm just using a regular nylon zipper. Feel free to use anything you want. I'm not following the directions exactly, but if you need any help, make sure to leave a comment down below. For obvious reasons, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that the zipper is at the back of the dress. On top of that, I am top stitching the zipper because I really wanted it to lay flat and nice and smooth. And sometimes I get stuck with not having proper zipper feed allowance. So make sure it's there. And you can see that my dress is almost all completed. So we can move on to the next pieces, meaning we are set to go. Next, I took out the fur and cut out a rectangle. I'm going to be sewing this directly on top of the dress, thus creating a nice little choker looking fluffy thing that goes around the top of my bodice. So when you cut fur, you want to cut it in between the fur itself and the mesh that's holding it. You want to be very careful and make sure that your fabric scissors aren't going through and cutting the fur itself. You want it to be spread out as much as possible, or make sure that your scissors are only cutting through the top and not the actual fur. And now I'm going to be sewing the right side of the fur to the wrong side of the dress, and that's because we are going to be flipping that over kind of like a bias tape, hiding the seam and thus creating a very nice furry effect. With the top folded over now, like a bias tape, we are now going to whip stitch it all the way around. And be very careful on where you whip stitch it because you might actually miss your fabric and only get piles of the fur versus the actual fabric itself. And then if you run out of string, make sure you tie off and then start a new thread. It's okay to have multiple threads on the inside. We are not going too crazy, and a lot of dresses are like that anyways. If you want, you can secure it with a little bit of glue, but I have enough confidence that my fur will be okay. And this is what it looks like turned over. So continue until your neckline is done. So when I was done with my actual neckline, I actually had to cut off a few pieces of fur. So I'm going to be shoving this fur at the front on the bodice. So that way it will really give a triangle illusion. And I had to cut out a few of the stitches and then retie a bit, but I'm going to be adding it in the front by finding the middle of the bodice. And then I'm going to pin it in place and then hand stitch it there. This step is completely optional, but if you want the full Eevee look, you might as well go ahead and do this step as well. So find the middle point and then start pinning those extra pieces of fabric. I took a few tries doing this correctly. The best case scenario is to lay down your garment flat and then do the sewing from the front instead of the back. The back isn't going to be the prettiest thing, but the front's going to look amazing when you do it right. So do it this way. Now that the dress is complete, I'm going to be folding over a piece of newspaper and then I'm going to be sketching out the design of the ears. You can see the ears here on that little tag of the pouch. You can tell that I don't like to remove pouch tags, like plushie tags at all or anything. So just slowly draw out the shape and then cut that piece out. Make sure to check the sizing in the mirror so you can see if you like the size against your head and if it's proportional or if it's too long. I liked how mine turned out, so I'm going to be copying it onto 2 pieces of foam and then I'm going to be cutting that out. I left an extra bit of the foam for tails so I can wrap it around the headband. This way it has more support and it has a nice little covering. Now, we're going to be using wire soon, so make sure you have some because this step is going to be interesting when we put it onto the headband. When you are cutting out your ears, make sure to save the scrap foam that we will be using to cover over the wire, just like we did in previous videos like the Pikachu one. Now, once your 2 ears are cut out, take out your wire and then create really long pieces, fold it in half, and then we are going to be using that onto the ears for structure. So this is where we are at. Make sure you have plenty of glue gun sticks for this part. We are going to be gluing the wire down, and you can see I bent it in a U shape. That way it has super support. And then we are going to be covering it with foam pieces. As you can see, I'm using the scrap pieces of the foam that I used, and I'm playing kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, trying to make it fit over the wire and making sure it doesn't go outside of the actual ear piece. And we are going to be covering that with foam. So we want to make sure that the piece is cut to shape and sizing, and make sure you have a generous amount of hot glue so it sticks and secures the wire in place. And don't be afraid to really push down on the foam, because it will adhere to the ear and kind of give it more like depth and dimension. For this next part, I actually kind of skipped ahead and forgot to record. So I used Eileen's tacky glue and a dark brown taffeta, and I glued one of the sides of the ears to it. And now I'm going to be cutting that out. After I cut that out, I'm going to be using the light brown, the same one that I used for the dress, on the other side of the ears. One of the main reasons why I'm using Eileen's tacky glue is because it's really easy to spread, and it's not like hot glue. It works really easy, and it actually adheres and binds versus seeping through the fabric. You have to be careful. If you push too hard, yeah, it will seep through, but for the most part, it doesn't. Now that my glue is dry, I'm going to be cutting out the other light brown part of the ear. There's one more detailing that we need, and so I grabbed a lot of the scrap fabric, and I'm going to be making strips with this. I like making them nice and even or semi-even, and I just fold it up and then I cut out a line, making sure that the edges are the same, and for the most part it really is the same. So this next part, we're going to be using this kind of like bias tape around the ears and cut 2 long pieces of this light brown fabric. Now let's go back to our hot glue station. We are going to be hot gluing the edge of the dark brown side of the Eevee ear, and then we're putting our light brown strip of fabric on top of it, and then slowly work your way all around the perimeter, making sure you don't put too much glue because you don't want it to seep out from underneath the fabric. And don't worry, this is going to puff up on the other side. I should mention that this is like 1.5 inches worth of like ribbon width, so that way it can go around the ear. You can make it a little bit smaller, but mine I think was really like 1.5 inches or like 1 inch. Once I got to the Eevee ear peak, like I stopped there and then I cut it off. I wanted to have a nice clean edge at the top, and so I started to work from the bottom all the way to the top. On the other side, you want to glue it, and then you want to press the fabric down. And then you want to work your way all the way to the stopping point that you did, and then repeat to the other side. Now I should mention here that there are curved points, so at the point on the middle of the ear, I had to snip so it would lay flat, and then I glued it down. And then we just repeat the process all over on the other side. So you just glue down the perimeter like I show you here, and then you just work with your fabric slowly and make sure not to burn yourself. Luckily, this is a low heat glue gun. Sounds kind of funny. And make sure that you have enough fabric, because if you don't, you had to like redo all of it. And then slowly work your way back to the other side. At the top point, I actually snipped it and then I folded it back a little bit. I didn't cut it entirely off because I wanted a clean edge, and I just folded it a lot until I get it the desired effect. Next, it's time to add your ears to the headband. Find the ear placement that you want that fits your size of head on your headband, and then fold the bottom edge of the ear onto the headband so it kind of makes like a curved shape like a C, and then hot glue it down. And then make sure that you add plenty of hot glue. This way you can fold your ear onto the headband. So then it will make kind of like a roll shape, lack of better words. And then make sure to secure it at the top where they both meet. That way it is ultra secure and the ear is now completely wrapped around the headband. Luckily, my headband is also a dark brown, so I don't really need to cover it. You can see here that placement is really important because I actually put it off to the side a little bit. So, whoopsies! Because I had a lot of wire in my actual ear, it actually went all the way down, so it was really easy for this process. This is why I said make sure you have all the wire down to the bottom of the foam. And it was an easy process after I had covered everything, and it's already perfect. All I had to do was add a little bit of hot glue when I added it to the headband, and it's really perfect. Time to move on to the next stuff!
Bowser, do you want to help me? Because you're standing in front of my way. Do you not want me to make my costume today?
So, with dog interruptions all over the place this video, I'm going to be finishing the last part of this by making a nice cover shawl. I know I already added fur to the top, but I couldn't let this beautiful fur go to waste. So I'm going to be cutting different strips of this brown fabric the same width as this fur, and then I'm going to be sewing it together. Here I already combined all of the strips together. I ended up cutting 3, and one of them is half a piece, so it's really not that long. But I'm going to attach them all together, then I'm going to fold it in half and sew them into a giant tube, and then reverse flip that tube. When you're doing this step, you want to make sure that you flip your stuff inside out with a hole. So that means in the middle, do not sew and leave a gap in your sewing. And then you're going to put your hand in and just flip it inside out. This way all the raw edges are facing on the inside. Okie dokie, the last part is very easy. Find the middle of this tube, and I even top stitched it so it doesn't look too frumpy, but you can barely see it because I used brown thread for a change. Hooray! So guys, I want you to see that I found the middle and I marked it with 2 pins, and then I found the middle of my fur, and then I'm going to be using this tacky glue again. Then I will be using it kind of like a glue stick. So I'm just gonna spread it around evenly, or try to. Now I have a piece of foam with me from the previous part, and I'm going to be using that to smear it around. And then I'm going to lay the fur as flat as possible. And I'm going to repeat this process on both sides until it's completely done. Now there are some spots that I missed, such as the top of the fur. So I'm just going to go back and use the spout of the glue, and I'm going to start rubbing it all over and then let it dry, hopefully adhering both pieces, and then you shall be done!
Look at my Bowser, so cute as Eevee.
Eevee Ears Bowser. Oh my god, he's adorable. Oh, oh, oh. Look at that. It's stuck on him. Hey there, baby. You stuck? He does not look happy. Whoop, there they go. I mean, seriously, look how cute these ears are. Hello. I'm trying to film. Thank you.